Fake news.
Hello and welcome to Fake News, Fact and Fiction from BBC Learning English. I'm Hugo.
And I'm Sam.
In the programme today, we hear from Jenny Sargent, Managing Director of First Draft News.
The issue of trust and truth online is one of the most urgent challenges facing our global society today.
Yes, so we find out that even the experts can be tricked by a fake news story, as researcher Samantha Bradshaw tells us.
I definitely have been caught out by a fake news story. I believed for the longest time that...
So what was it that she believed? Stay with us to find out.
Before that, though, we have some vocabulary which you are going to tell us about today. Sam, what do you have for us?
Today, Hugo, I have a range of phrases we can use if we realize that we have been the victim of a scam or believed some fake news. English has many phrasal and multi-word verbs. These are a natural part of everyday language and are used for good things as well as bad. Take fall for as an example. When you fall for someone, it means that you become strongly attracted to them. You fall in love with them. And if you've ever fallen for someone, you might remember that feeling of butterflies you have in your stomach. But you have a very different feeling, a sinking feeling in your stomach if you fall for a scam. To fall for something means that you've been tricked into believing something that isn't true. This isn't always bad. It could just be a simple joke or a prank, but it could also be a con or a scam or some fake news. If you completely believe something that isn't true, you can say, I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. To fall for isn't used in the passive and suggests perhaps that you think you believe something too easily. To highlight the action of the scammers rather than your own response, there are a number of other phrases with similar meanings which we use, which are generally only in the passive. These are to be taken in by and to be caught out by. Now, to help you avoid falling for, being taken in by or caught out by fake news and scams, let's go back to the programme for some more tips.
Thanks, Sam. It can be easy to be taken in by fake news, but in today's programme, we have some advice from our first guest, Jenny Sargent. She is the Managing Director of an organisation called First Draft News, who work around the world to fight what they call information disorder. We spoke to Jenny earlier and asked how we can face the challenge of identifying and dealing with fake news.
We have an acronym that we use, which is SHEEP. We say to think about the source, the history, the emotion, the evidence, and whether it includes pictures. Because those are the 5 things that you can remember and help you think before you share. Take time to think through who shared it, what's their motivation, what else have they shared that might be relevant, have they tried to manipulate me emotionally, and what evidence do they present with this piece of information, this story or this video or this image. Have they used images which are very easy to persuade us to think differently? So taking time as a member of society before you share is something that we can all do to help.
SHEEP, an acronym to help you think before you share. So let's take a look at it in a bit more detail now. So S is for source.
Yes, the source is where the information is coming from. Is it someone you know? Is it an organisation you trust? Are they who they say they are? If it's a well-known person, is it their actual account?
Well, it's very easy to fake a social media post. Just take a look at this, for example.
Wow, so the former president loves us. Looks just like the real thing, doesn't it? Except it's fake. It's just an image. It's been automatically generated by one of a number of fake tweet sites. And if you really weren't sure, you could go to the actual account and see that this post doesn't actually appear on the timeline.
And one way of finding out more about the source is by looking at the history of the account of the person or organization posting. So history is the age of sheep. How old is the account? Who follows them? Who do they follow? What else have they posted? Do all these things make the source more or less reliable?
For example, the other day on Facebook, I saw a post a friend of mine had shared. It was from a company offering a great prize for liking and sharing their post. This is a common scam on Facebook, but some are genuine, so I did a bit of digging. When I checked out the company's own Facebook profile, their account was only a few days old and there was no history of posts. This was a red flag and made me think it was probably one of those scam competitions.
Yeah. The next part of the acronym is emotion. Is the post manipulating your emotions? Does it want you to feel angry or outraged? Is it biased? Is it saying something, for example, you wouldn't believe about someone you like, but you would believe about someone you don't like?
But just because a post might generate strong emotions doesn't mean it's fake news. There are many news reports that might make you feel sadness or anger, but does the language of the post suggest you should be feeling a particular way? Does it suggest you should or must share it? I always get a bit suspicious whenever a post tells me to share it.
Yeah, and the next part of the acronym is another E. This one is for evidence. If the post is making claims about politicians, health, science, for example, which aren't being reported in the mainstream media, what evidence is there that they're actually true?
This is a tricky area as the mainstream media can't and doesn't report everything. And of course, in some cases, has its own agenda and also does make mistakes. These are areas that can be really very complex. If you don't trust the mainstream media, how do you decide what sources you do trust? And is that trust based on objective evidence or because those sources say things you agree with or want to be true?
Yeah, it can be very difficult to recognize and ignore our own biases, which is why it's helpful to look for multiple sources and opinions that are different from our own.
Yeah. The final part of the jigsaw is pictures, our photos and videos used as evidence. We've seen how easy it is for images to be misleading. So do the images show what you are being told they show? Are the captions accurate? Could the pictures have been manipulated?
So remember SHEEP as a fact-checking guide to detecting fake news.
To be a fake news detective, you have to be aware that it is out there. You have to be skeptical and want to find the truth before you share something. And if you do come across a post that is suspicious or maybe something that a friend has shared, how should you go about dealing with it?
Yeah, there are many fact-checking and debunking websites and services out there. It's often very quick to do a search for particular phrases or keywords to see if the topic has been covered on one of them. And another tip here is to include the word fake or scam in the search term as well.
But the trouble I have is if I come across something a friend has posted or shared, should I let them know?
Good question. Do you do that, Sam?
I have done, yes.
And how did it go?
To be honest, it was a bit mixed. It depends on who shared it and what it was. So most friends are okay with it if, for example, it's a fake competition and you warn them about it. Some don't acknowledge it at all. But if it's something a bit more controversial, like a conspiracy theory or one of those miracle cures the pharmaceutical industry is apparently hiding, then some people get quite angry if you challenge their beliefs, even when you link it to the facts. Or maybe because you link to the facts, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation. And it's a question we put to disinformation researcher Samantha Bradshaw from Oxford University. How do you deal with fake news people share, which appears on your social media channels? And this is what she had to say.
So combating fake news as it appears in our own news feeds and our Twitter feeds, it's a very delicate task, I think, because one can't simply just post a debunked news article and have the problem fixed. The reason why fake news often spreads further and faster than other kinds of information, again, comes back to this whole issue of identity signaling. And people don't necessarily care that the information contained in a story, whether or not it's true. They don't care about the facts or not. They care more about belonging to a sense of community. And so posting a debunked story doesn't necessarily change people's minds. Instead, I think we need to engage more critically one another, but in a way that promotes empathy and promotes understanding, so that, again, we can negotiate consensus and come together to build our democracy and find balanced viewpoints.
Anything you'd like to comment there, Sam?
Yes, I'd like to pick out the phrase, a delicate task. Samantha said that dealing with fake news on our own social media is a delicate task. So this means it's a difficult job that needs to be done carefully with sensitivity. And she also talked about empathy, which is understanding other people's feelings and experiences.
Yeah, well, and I think if we all had more empathy and understanding, the world would be a better place.
But it might put you out of a job as a journalist, Hugo, if there wasn't any conflict.
I think there would still be plenty of conflict to go around, and there will always be people trying to take advantage of other people, which leads us back to our guest, Samantha Bradshaw. Has she ever fallen for a fake news story? Take a listen.
I definitely have been caught out by a fake news story. I believed for the longest time that teacup pigs were a real thing. And for anyone who doesn't know, a teacup pig is a little baby pig. And there would be all these cute viral videos on the internet of these little pigs running around. And the idea was that they would stay that little forever. But in reality, they were just normal pigs that would grow to be a real-sized pig. But I had it in my mind that I was going to buy a teacup pig one day because they were just so adorable and dog-like and cute. Only later to find out that those are not real. They are fully grown pigs. You can buy one. It will just be massive one day.
So even the experts can be caught out, although happy to report that Samantha realized it was a scam before she actually bought one.
Yes. And you might think that selling cute pigs is a harmless scam, but this and other similar hoaxes lead to all sorts of problems. So, for example, what do you do if you live in a tiny flat and you bought a tiny pet that then grows to be a huge, hungry pet? Many of these pigs have been starved, abandoned, and poorly treated, yet there is still a market for them on social media.
Yes, not all fake news is about issues such as politics, health, science. Well, now, a lot to digest. Please, Sam, remind us of today's vocabulary.
Of course. So, to start with, there are some phrasal and multi-word verbs. To fall for someone means to fall in love. But to fall for something means you believed something that wasn't true. And if you completely believed it without any doubts, you fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. The verbs to be taken in by or caught out by something also mean that you believed something that wasn't true, but these are generally used in the passive if you are talking about the victim. A delicate task is a difficult job that needs to be done carefully with politeness and sensitivity. And empathy is understanding other people's feelings and experiences.
Thank you, Sam. Now, the internet and social media are fantastic resources of information and great tools for keeping in touch with family and friends. But because they make communication so easy, it makes communication of fake news and disinformation so easy too. As this is the last program in the series, I wonder if you have any final thoughts, Sam?
Yes, I do. So one of the things that struck me was how long fake news has been around, but also that fake news only spreads if it is shared. And the one thing we've heard again and again in this series is always to think very carefully before sharing something. Don't take everything you see on the internet at face value, but be vigilant, be skeptical, be aware of your own biases, and research anything that raises a red flag. How about you, Hugo?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's why we all have a role to play. There's so much of that that's not true, that it's vital for all of us to share responsibly. Well, that's all from us today and from this series. It's been a pleasure to have your company. And Sam, thank you.
And thank you too, Hugo. It really has been a pleasure. Goodbye.
Goodbye.